Between January and June of 2026, the Indian Armed Forces executed over 30 separate military drills. Individual training events often appear disconnected, isolated routines within a vast military bureaucracy. Aggregated and categorized, these drills map a calculated, three-pronged geographical strategy. Sorting the data by geography and intent identifies three distinct clusters: the Thar Desert, the Indian Ocean, and the Pacific Rim. The first cluster concentrates on the Indian subcontinent, focusing on domestic integration and hardware validation. The second cluster expands southward, marking a pivot toward maritime dominance in the Indian Ocean. The final cluster reaches east, building a decentralized, counter-hegemonic web across the broader Indo-Pacific. This dataset is a live map of a rising power's most pressing strategic anxieties and geopolitical ambitions. In the domestic theater, there is an intense concentration of activity localized in the Thar Desert of Rajasthan. At the Pokhran Field Firing Range, the military ran successive live fire drills, including exercises Rudra Shakti, Vayu Shakti, and Agni Varsha. These exercises are designed to stress test and validate newly inducted artillery systems, such as the K9 Vajra, under extreme operational conditions. This environment also serves as a validation ground for homegrown aerial assets, like the light combat helicopter Prachand. Beyond hardware, these drills serve an organizational purpose, forcing historically siloed branches of the military into unified command structures known as jointness. Exercise Agni Pariksha, conducted in Arunachal Pradesh, demonstrates this shift. By integrating regular Indian Army units with the Indo-Tibetan Border Police for interforce combat training, the military is unifying its command hierarchy for border defense. Domestic hardware validation and inter-branch coordination form the bedrock. An unintegrated, untested military cannot project power beyond its borders. Pivoting away from the northern land borders and looking toward the eastern coastline, our strategic focus shifts heavily to the naval port of Visakhapatnam. In February 2026, India simultaneously hosted three major maritime events: the International Fleet Review, the Milan Exercise, and the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium Conclave. The International Fleet Review acts as a mechanism for diplomatic power projection, inviting friendly foreign navies to display their vessels alongside Indian warships. Expanding southward, India operationalizes its neighborhood first policy, drawing concentric security rings. Coast Guard Exercise Dosti 17 integrates Sri Lanka and the Maldives into the maritime perimeter. Finally, Exercise Lamatia anchors the extreme southern flank with the Seychelles. To the east, geography dictates a focus on critical economic choke points, particularly the narrow corridor of the Strait of Malacca. Operating from bases in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Indian Air Force conducts joint patrols with the Royal Thai Air Force to project power over this corridor. Maintaining aerial dominance over this choke point requires deploying high-end assets like the Su-30 MKI fighter jet. These operations establish a physical and diplomatic barricade across the Indian Ocean, cementing India as the primary security guarantor in its home waters. India's strategic reach now extends beyond the Indian Ocean and into the contested Pacific Rim. Bilateral drills like Dharma Guardian with Japan and Vajra Prahar with U.S. Special Forces build a larger allied architecture. This web addresses strategic anxieties, like adversarial submarine proliferation, the focus of the U.S.-led exercise Sea Dragon in Guam. By deploying P-8I maritime patrol aircraft to these anti-submarine warfare drills, India standardizes tracking protocols with its allies. These tactical drills run alongside multi-nation logistical operations, like Australia's exercise Pitch Black. Pitch Black tests the coordination of 19 participating nations, practicing complex nighttime aerial tactics across vast airspace. India's participation runs parallel to other allied drills, such as the U.S.-South Korea Freedom Shield and the U.S.-Japan Resolute Dragon. This interlocking web of exercises creates a decentralized deterrence network, providing the operational benefits of a formal military alliance without political constraints of a treaty. Bringing these three geographic theaters together reveals the complete 2026 strategic model as a vertically stacked architecture. The system is dependent on its foundation. Validating domestic hardware and jointness in Layer 1 is the prerequisite that enables outward projection. Securing the Indian Ocean in Layer 2 frees up the strategic bandwidth India needs to act as a global partner in Layer 3. The goal of these global efforts is to establish high-level interoperability between allied fleets during a crisis scenario. In the modern era, interoperability is the new deterrence. By standardizing communication and joint force mechanics across dozens of nations, persistent synchronization creates a layered deterrence network across the Indo-Pacific.